Sarah, we need to talk, my boss Robert said with a fake smile. He sat behind his big desk with Linda from the people department next to him. Both looked at me like they felt sorry, but I could tell they were just pretending. After 15 years at Bright Star Foods, we're letting you go. The company needs to save money, and your job is being removed. Linda pushed a white envelope toward me. Inside is your goodbye package. You get money for each year you worked here, and your health insurance will work for 2 more months. There's also a list of people who can help you find a new job. I picked up the envelope slowly and looked at them both. Okay, I understand, I said in a calm voice. They both looked surprised and happy that I wasn't crying or yelling. You see, I'm 55 years old and most companies want younger workers. They probably thought I would be very upset. But what they didn't know was that I saw this coming 3 weeks ago. I accidentally saw an email on Robert's computer that said, "Plan to remove Sarah. Save money by hiring younger worker." So I've been getting ready for this day. We need you to take your things and leave by this Friday, Robert said, sounding more sure of himself now. Give us your keys, your computer, and your work phone before you go. We'll tell everyone on your team this afternoon. My team. I trained 5 amazing workers over the years. These same 5 people helped me create the special recipe mixing system that makes all of Bright Star Foods products taste perfect. Our cookies, crackers, and snacks are sold in every big store in America. The system I made is the secret to why everything tastes so good. Sure, is there anything else? I asked as I stood up from my chair. They looked at each other, confused because I was so calm. Robert spoke first. No, that's everything. Thank you for being professional about this. As I walked back to my desk, I passed the big meeting room with glass walls. Inside I could see the big bosses having a meeting. Our company owner, Mr. James Parker, was showing everyone a presentation about how much money we'll make this year. This was the same Mr. James Parker who told reporters last month that our team of recipe experts created our special system, without ever saying my name once. I went into my office and closed the door. I took out my personal phone and sent a text message. It's happening. Friday is my last day here. Someone wrote back right away. Perfect. Everything is ready. Let's meet tonight for dinner to finish our plan. I looked at my desk calendar and smiled. Today was Wednesday. On Friday I would walk out of Bright Star Foods forever. But on Monday was going to be very interesting. That night I met my friend Amanda Chan at a nice restaurant called the Garden Room. It was far away from Bright Star Foods so nobody would see us. Amanda owns a company called Fresh Taste Foods, which competes with Bright Star. She had reserved a private corner table where nobody could hear us talk. They really did it, Amanda said, shaking her head after we ordered our food. I thought maybe they would change their minds. But firing the person who created their most important recipe system. That's just stupid. Mr. Parker never understood what I actually made, I explained while drinking my water. He only cared about the final cookies and crackers he could sell. He didn't understand that the mixing system is what makes everything work together perfectly. To him, recipes are just something any cook can make. Here's the really funny part. 2 months ago, I found out that Bright Star Foods never protected my recipe system with legal papers called a patent. A patent is like a special lock that says, "This idea belongs to me." When I asked them about it, they said they forgot and would do it soon. But something felt wrong about how they answered me. So I looked through the company's secret files on the computer. That's when I discovered their plan. There was a written plan that said they wanted to claim my recipe system was made by the whole company. Not just by me. They wanted to fire me before filing the patent because workers' ideas usually belong to the company they work for. But here's what Bright Star Foods didn't know. I had been making my recipe system even better at home, using my own kitchen and my own ingredients. These improvements make the mixing 50% faster and taste even more delicious. Because I did this work at home on my own time and with my own stuff, the company doesn't own it. I quietly filed for my own patent last month. I wrote down everything carefully. What time I worked on it, where I was, and what equipment I used. Everything proved the work was done at home, not at Bright Star Foods. The patent was approved super fast because Amanda introduced me to a really good lawyer who knows all about protecting ideas. All the legal papers are ready, Amanda said, sliding a folder across our table. As soon as you sign these, Fresh Taste Foods officially gets the rights to use your patent. The announcement will go out Monday morning saying you're our new head recipe creator. I looked through the papers slowly, even though I already knew what they said. I would get a big amount of money just for signing part ownership in Fresh Taste Foods, and continued payments from every product made using my system. What do you think Mr. Parker's face will look like when he finds out? Amanda asked with a little smile. I'm more worried about my team, I said honestly. They don't deserve to get hurt by this. Amanda nodded. Already handled. We have jobs ready for all 5 of them if they want. Better positions with more money. I signed the last page and closed the folder. In one smart move, I had protected my future, helped my team, and made sure my hard work got recognized. To new beginnings, Amanda said, raising her water glass. And to knowing your worth, I added, tapping my glass against hers. Thursday and Friday went by so fast. I had to go to many meetings where people asked me questions about leaving. I had to teach others about my projects. I said goodbye to people I worked with for years. I stayed calm and professional the whole time, even though rumors were spreading around the office. Secretaries gave me sad looks in the hallways. Young workers came up to me awkwardly asking if I would write nice things about them on the internet for future jobs. I wrote down everything super carefully. Every project I worked on, every password to every system, every step of every process. I made sure I was very detailed and helpful. This wasn't because I was being nice. It was proof. Proof that I did everything right while the company did not. During my final exit meeting on Friday afternoon, Linda from the people department went through her list of questions like a robot. You understand that any ideas or recipes you made while working here still belong to Bright Star Foods, she said, pushing a paper across the table for me to sign. It was a promise to keep company secrets. Of course, I said pleasantly. Anything I made as part of my job, using company kitchens, during work hours. I said those words very carefully, but Linda was too busy checking boxes to notice. And you promise you didn't take any secret company information. I have taken nothing that belongs to Bright Star Foods, I said truthfully. The patent was mine after all. As I packed my personal things into a brown box, family pictures, badges from 15 years of food conferences, the special mug my team gave me last Christmas, Robert stopped by my office. He leaned against the door frame, trying to look casual. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay with you leaving, he said, watching me wrap a small trophy I won for creating the best recipe system in the industry. The trophy was for the exact same system that was now at the center of my plans. I looked up at him. Everything's perfect. Business is business, right? Something about how I said it made him stop and look confused for a second. But then he shrugged it off. What could a 55-year-old woman who just lost her job possibly do? Will you take some time off? He asked, pretending to care. Actually, I already have a new job, I said. I start Monday. Oh, wow, that was fast, he said, surprised. What kind of job? Smiled. A leadership job. I'm really excited about it. He nodded but wasn't really paying attention anymore. Well, good luck. As I walked out of Bright Star Foods' main building for the last time, after returning my keys and computer and phone, I stopped to look back. I had spent 15 years of my life in that building. On the top floor, I could see the big meeting room all lit up for an evening meeting. They were probably talking about how to split up my work among younger, cheaper workers. They had no idea that in less than 3 days, they would be having an emergency panic meeting instead. Monday morning was beautiful and sunny. I dressed in my new dark blue suit, a power outfit I bought just for this day. The Fresh Taste Foods Company car picked me up exactly at 7:30 in the morning to take me to their building. I was starting my first day as head recipe creator. The big announcement went public at 7 a.m. Amanda told me as I sat down in my new corner office with huge windows. Industry magazines are already sharing it. Our communications team is watching everyone's reactions. The announcement was written very carefully. Fresh Taste Foods gets exclusive rights to amazing recipe system. Welcomes creator Dr. Sarah Martinez as head recipe creator. It explained my background, made it very clear I was the only inventor of the patented system, and explained how Fresh Taste Foods would use the system in their next products. Most importantly, it said that any company currently using the technology would need to get permission and pay Fresh Taste Foods to keep using it. At exactly 9:15 in the morning, my phone buzzed with a text from my old team at Bright Star Foods. It was complete chaos. What's happening? It was from Carlos, my best worker. I smiled and typed back. Check your personal email. All 5 of you have job offers waiting. Meanwhile, 8 miles away at Bright Star Foods headquarters, the Monday morning meeting was turning into a disaster. Carlos sent me updates throughout the morning. Mr. Parker had arrived at work to find the company's lawyer and money manager waiting at his door, both looking scared and worried. The industry announcement had hit their emails at the same time, setting off alarm bells everywhere. By 9:30 a.m., what should have been a normal weekly meeting had become an emergency crisis meeting. Important board members were calling in from their phones. The legal team was frantically looking through my old work contract. They're pulling every file with your name on it, Carlos reported. Someone just brought in all the computers from the recipe department for the tech team to check. I could imagine the scene perfectly. Mr. Parker pacing around the meeting room, demanding answers from Robert and the legal department. The company's stock price would already be dropping because investors hate uncertainty. At 10:45 a.m., I got an email from Mr. Parker himself. I could feel the panic in his words. Sarah, there seems to be a big misunderstanding. Please call me as soon as possible so we can talk about this. I sent it to Fresh Taste Foods' legal team without responding. By lunchtime, the food industry was buzzing with gossip. Bright Star Foods' stock price had dropped 9% since the market opened. Fresh Taste Foods' stock price had gone up 14%. 3 different food magazines wanted to interview me about the strategic move that had shocked the industry. How are you feeling? Amanda asked, stopping by my office as I was settling in. Respected, I said honestly. 15 years of watching others take credit for my recipes. Being told I should be grateful just to have a job. And now, finally, people know it was me. My new assistant appeared at the door. Dr. Martinez, the recipe development team is ready for you in the big conference room. Pause. Also, Bright Star Foods owner has called 6 times in the last hour. Please tell him I'm in meetings all day, I said calmly. Our legal team will contact him later this week to discuss payment options for using the system. As I walked to my first meeting as head recipe creator, my phone buzzed with another message from Carlos. The board just called an emergency meeting. Mr. Parker looks like he's about to explode. P.S. My team and I accept your job offers. When can we start? By Tuesday morning, everyone at Bright Star Foods understood what had happened. Their main products, all their cookies, crackers and snacks, relied completely on my recipe system to create the perfect taste that made them special. Without legal rights to my patent, they had 2 equally bad choices. They could negotiate with Fresh Taste Foods and pay a lot of money. Or they could try to rebuild their recipes from scratch, which would take years and cost millions. Mr. Parker called an all-company meeting for 2 p.m., Carlos texted. It was his last day at Bright Star Foods. He and my other 4 team members would start at Fresh Taste Foods next Monday. Rumor is they're going to try to sue you. I sent his message to our legal department. They responded almost immediately. Let them try. Your paperwork is perfect. Development notes, timestamps, personal equipment records. Everything clearly proves you did the work at home. We're ready for this. Meanwhile, I was settling into my new job amazingly well. The respect I got at Fresh Taste Foods was so different from my last years at Bright Star. When I spoke in meetings, people actually listened. My ideas weren't stolen by male co-workers and presented as theirs. My age and experience were seen as good things, not bad things. The recipe team is testing your improvements, Amanda told me during our afternoon meeting. Early results show a 58% better taste score than we expected. I had several improvements I never shared with Bright Star Foods, I admitted. After I found out they were planning to fire me, I saw no reason to give them my best work. Their loss, our gain, Amanda said with a satisfied smile. Speaking of that, the first company asking about licensing called this morning. Not Bright Star Foods yet. They're still in denial. But Quick Snack Company reached out. They're worried about getting caught in the middle. At 3:30 p.m., Carlos sent a detailed description of Mr. Parker's all-company meeting. The owner had tried to act confident, telling everyone that Bright Star Foods would strongly defend our recipe technology. But everyone in the room was nervous. Several workers had already updated their job hunting profiles online, sensing the company was in trouble. Robert looked like he was going to be sick when someone asked directly if they forgot to file the patent, Carlos reported. Mr. Parker ended the question period really fast after that. By Wednesday, the industry chaos had gotten worse. 2 major stores had contacted Fresh Taste Foods about switching from Bright Star products. They were worried Bright Star couldn't maintain quality without me. Our stock price went up another 10% while Bright Star's kept falling. I got a call from Linda in the people department, the same woman who slid my goodbye envelope across the table just days before. Sarah, she began, her voice carefully professional. I'm calling to discuss the, situation with your patent. We think there may have been a misunderstanding about who owns it. I don't think there's any misunderstanding, I replied calmly. My work contract clearly says that ideas I develop on my own time using my own equipment belong to me. The patent paperwork proves exactly that. Mr. Parker was hoping you might come in to talk about options. Any discussions need to go through Fresh Taste Foods' legal department now, I responded. I'm sure they'd be happy to meet and discuss payment terms. The silence on the phone said everything. Finally, Linda sighed. I'll pass that along. That afternoon, I led my first formal presentation to Fresh Taste Foods' board of directors. I showed them our technology roadmap with my recipe system at the center. As I stood confidently at the front of the table, not hidden in the back like at Bright Star Foods, I caught Amanda's approving smile. By Friday, just 1 week after leaving Bright Star Foods, that company was in full panic mode. Their stock price had fallen 26% from Monday's opening, making big investors very worried. Industry writers were publishing articles with titles like, "Can Bright Star Foods survive without their recipe creator?" and "How one big mistake may destroy a food giant." Through my contacts, I learned that Mr. Parker had finally admitted to the board how serious this was. Bright Star would need to either pay Fresh Taste Foods a huge amount for my recipe system, which would destroy their profits, or rebuild everything from scratch without using anything covered by my patent. They've started interviewing for a new recipe team, Carlos told me during our Friday video call. We were discussing his move to Fresh Taste Foods. Mr. Parker is claiming they can recreate everything in 4 months. I couldn't help but laugh. The original system took me 2.5 years to perfect. And that was with deep knowledge of how flavors work together. Exactly, Carlos agreed. Nobody believes his timeline, especially after your whole team resigned at the same time. The knowledge loss is massive. That afternoon, Bright Star Foods lawyers finally reached out to Fresh Taste Foods to start talking about possibly licensing my system. Our legal team, following our strategy, responded with terms that were technically fair but painfully expensive. 4 times the normal industry rate, plus a public statement acknowledging my role as the system's creator. They'll refuse the public acknowledgement more than the money, Amanda predicted as we reviewed the response in her office. Mr. Parker's ego won't let him admit he fired the person who created their core technology. Then they'll have to rebuild, I replied. And every day they spend trying to copy my work is another day we extend our lead in the market. The next Monday morning, 10 days after being told to clean out my desk, I led my first meeting with my newly assembled recipe team. This included Carlos and the other 4 workers from Bright Star Foods. The excitement in the room was electric as we planned the next evolution of my system. "This is how meetings should be," commented Maria, one of my former team members. At Bright Star, we spent half our time explaining basic concepts to bosses who didn't listen anyway. That's the difference between being valued and being seen as replaceable, I replied. Here, your knowledge is respected. As we finished our productive meeting, my assistant appeared at the door. Dr. Martinez, there's been a big development with Bright Star Foods. Their board just announced an emergency leadership change. Mr. James Parker is stepping down immediately. The news spread quickly. Within hours, industry publications reported that Bright Star's board had lost confidence in Mr. Parker's leadership after the patent mistake that threatened their main products. Robert was also out, along with the head lawyer who failed to properly secure the patent. That evening, I got a surprising email from Thomas Reynolds, Bright Star's newly appointed temporary owner. Unlike Mr. Parker's desperate message from the week before, this one was straightforward and respectful. Dr. Martinez, congratulations on your new position. I've been brought in to help Bright Star Foods navigate this difficult situation. I'd like to discuss a fair licensing arrangement for your patented recipe system. We're prepared to publicly acknowledge your contributions and make appropriate corrections for the mistakes of previous management. Would you be available to meet next week? I sent the email to Amanda, adding a simple note. Phase 1 complete. Her reply came quickly. Beautifully done. The board is celebrating your first major victory for Fresh Taste Foods. Looks like Bright Star is finally learning an expensive lesson about valuing innovation. 3 months after leaving Bright Star Foods, I sat on stage at the National Food Innovation Conference, preparing to give the main speech. The audience was filled with industry leaders, food journalists, and young recipe developers. Many now knew my story. And now I'm pleased to introduce our main speaker, the conference organizer announced. Dr. Sarah Martinez, head recipe creator at Fresh Taste Foods, and creator of the distributed recipe system that has changed how we mix flavors across multiple industries. The applause was loud as I walked to the microphone. What a difference a few months could make. Last year I attended this same conference as part of the Bright Star Foods group, sitting in the back while Mr. Parker gave a presentation about his company's innovations. Thank you, I began, looking at all the attentive faces. Today I want to talk about innovation ownership, and why it's important to properly recognize who creates what, regardless of where they work. My presentation explained the technical details of my recipe system, but also talked about the bigger issues of recognition and respect in the food business. Without directly mentioning Bright Star Foods, I emphasized how important it is for companies to protect their innovators rather than seeing them as easily replaceable workers. Afterward, during the reception party, several young women recipe developers came up to me asking for advice and help. One of them, barely 28 years old, confided, "Your story changed how I document my work. I started keeping detailed notes of my recipe development at home." "Smart," I replied. "Your innovations deserve protection." As the evening ended, I checked my phone to find an industry news alert. Bright Star Foods had finally announced their licensing agreement with Fresh Taste Foods, acknowledging me by name as the recipe system's creator. Their stock price had stabilized, though much lower than before I left. 1 year to the day after being told to clean out my desk, I sat in my spacious office at Fresh Taste Foods, reviewing our quarterly innovation report. Under my leadership, the company had released 4 groundbreaking products built on my recipe system, capturing significant market share from Bright Star Foods and other competitors. A knock at my door interrupted my reading. It was Amanda, holding a bottle of sparkling juice and 2 glasses. "Happy anniversary," she said, setting the glasses on my desk. "The board asked me to share the news with you personally before the public announcement. Fresh Taste Foods has officially surpassed Bright Star Foods in company value for the first time in our history." I smiled, feeling not revenge but a quiet satisfaction. That's what happens when you value innovation properly. As Amanda poured the juice, my assistant delivered a fancy envelope. Inside was an invitation to speak at Women in Food's annual leadership summit. The topic: Owning Your Recipe Value. How proper documentation changed an industry. "You've become something of an icon, you know," Amanda commented, seeing the invitation. The story about the boss who didn't recognize what he had until it was gone has become a warning story in corporate boardrooms everywhere. Thomas Reynolds, who stayed as Brightstar's owner after the crisis, had made big changes in how the company recognized and rewarded innovation. Their new policies on protecting workers' ideas and giving credit to recipe creators were reportedly modeled after the program I established at Fresh Taste Foods. It was never about revenge, I said, raising my glass in a toast. It was about recognition. About showing the industry that innovation isn't anonymous. It comes from real people who deserve real credit. To proper recognition, Amanda agreed, tapping her glass against mine. As the afternoon sun came through my office windows, I thought about my journey. At 56 years old, I had finally found what had escaped me throughout my career. Not just success but acknowledgement. My name was now permanently attached to the recipe system that changed an industry. Exactly where it belonged.